The reality is that we have a challenge with debt in Africa, with many countries. We have 22 countries today that some of them are in terms of either in debt distress, maybe 5 of them, and others at a high risk of debt distress. And the reasons for this are, some of them are exogenous factors. You have global inflation. You have the situation that has happened with the monetary policy in the United States and Europe, where interest rates are now rising, so the cost of servicing the debt has increased. You have global geopolitical risk, in which you have a situation of energy prices rising, commodity prices that are rising, particularly the price of food because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. You have climate change that is driving up, making it very difficult for African countries, losing about 15% of their GDP. So these are just the realities of multiple factors that Africa has to deal with. But the issue on the debt is how we resolve the issue of the debt more generally. And there are 3 ways of doing that. Globally, the world has done well in terms of the debt service suspension initiative, which supported countries not to pay back their debt, service their debt, until the situation got improved after COVID-19 situation. Well, that one has ended now. The other one we have now is the G20 common framework, in which the debt owed by the private sector and the debt owed by the public sector of the Paris Club will have to be negotiated, okay? And that is going on. It's a bit of a longer process, but it's very important to have the private sector play a very important role there, and China plays a very important role as also somebody who, a country that holds a lot of debt, giving a lot of loans to Africa. So that conversation continues, but we haven't reached a conclusion on any one yet, but good progress, it continues to be made. And the last one is on the special drawing rights. The special drawing rights are the only thing we have on the table right now. And the African Development Bank has been leading globally in how we can get the special drawing rights to multilateral development banks like ourselves. We've been working very closely with the IMF on this particular issue. And I'm glad that the financial model that we put together has finally satisfied the IMF in terms of the reserve asset quality of the SDRs. So it basically means that then countries that have SDRs, which are the developed countries, can rechannel some of that back to the African Development Bank. So these are some of the ways in which we're trying to deal with the issue of debt. But I'll say the last thing before I go on the issue of debt. First and foremost is that we must know what's all the debt. No hidden debt. All debt must be on the table. Secondly is that we should not have natural resources being used to back debt, because it impoverishes, it makes African countries poorer and in a weaker position to negotiate when it comes to that. And finally is that the debt resolution process must be better coordinated, so it doesn't take too long, and the transaction costs that it just takes for African countries. You know, there's not really anything bad in debt. If you're taking the right debt, you're taking it at the right level, and you can pay back your debt. Thank you.